stuff often, but it will do a couple things. One, it will let you actually get access to that place. I don't know if you ever tried to walk through a thick kudzu patch. I have. It's almost impossible to get from point A to point B, but goats come in and they will completely mow it down so you can at least see what you're dealing with. Also, if you do the chewing and the grazing repeated 2-3 times in a row, you will kill a lot of that stuff. So it's a really good way to take that down and to try to get a handle on it, and then you can also come in and spot treat with herbicide if you need to later to try to reclaim some of that land. With all of these invasive plants, the only way you're going to actually take that land back is 100% eradication. If you leave any rhizomes or sprouts or seeds, it's just going to come back. And because of all the reasons we already talked about, it's going to complete all the native stuff and still be there. So I'm not saying you can never get rid of invasive plants, but it takes work, it takes effort, it takes a little bit of time, and I think having that mindset going in is critical so you don't get frustrated and just throw your hands up with it. We actually have several shrubs here in South Carolina, especially here in Clemson, that are quite problematic. The first one I'll talk about is Elaeagnus, also called silverthorn or Russian olive. This is sadly another one of the things we brought in on purpose, primarily for wildlife, because it makes these little red berries that birds tend to love and birds will go to it. But once it's established, it just completely takes over. Similar to that is Nandina, heavenly bamboo. And I mean, you can probably look outside any home and garden around here and you're gonna see heavenly bamboo right now in its bright red winter foliage, right? When I first got here to Clemson about 8 years ago, we didn't see a lot of this in the woods, as I'll call it. Man, you see it all over the place now, and I really think this is probably one of the next ones that's just gonna go bonkers and be everywhere. These are spread by birds, you know, and even though those little red berries have a little bit of cyanide in them, for whatever reason, most birds know not to eat enough to kill themselves. It has happened before. About 15 years ago, there was a big cedar waxwing die-off in South Georgia because what essentially happened was a pack of juvenile cedar waxwings, adolescents, teenagers if you will, gorged on the berries, took off, and then they all died because they ate too much. You know, teenagers do things that aren't the brightest, I guess, in every life form. But so it does happen, but most birds will just eat a few and then fly off, and when they go to the bathroom, you have new plants growing up. So I can assure you that I don't plant any of these in my house, but every year I can show you pictures of a new Nandina or a new privet or a new calorie pear growing by the dog fence because birds will come and sit on the fence and go to the bathroom, and there it is. So easily spreads. And then privet, which is kind of the old standby, right? We've marketed this, the global we has marketed this for decades for a landscape plant. Any Georgia fans know that between the hedges are, invasive privet. The difference there is that stuff gets more haircuts than I do, and it's completely, basically never going anywhere ever, never going to flower, never going to make a seed because it's manicured to the utmost. But most places do not do that, and most places let that stuff eventually go to seed, birds eat it, fly off, start new patches. So all of these shrubs and all of these, the kudzu, the shrubs, they can be controlled. I'm often asked, is chemical treatment your only option? Technically, no, right? If you have unlimited time and resources, you can hand pull this stuff. I would also say that someone who suggests you can hand pull kudzu has never tried to dig up a kudzu root. So you're not gonna realistically do that. Chemicals work. Some of the ones you need to use for something like kudzu are pretty spicy, and you need to really know what you're doing and have your certifications, but they are quite effective. The ones you can use for a lot of these shrubs, glyphosate and triclopyr, much safer, much standard, much more commonly used. It's just a matter of treating them in the right manner at the right time of the year and with the right equipment, and it's fairly straightforward to take those down. I have worked with Bradford and calorie pear for years. I'm not going to bore anyone with an hour-long monologue about that tree, but I do think that is probably one of the most important invasive trees we have, not just in Clemson, but in the Southeast in general. Marketed as Bradford pear, which was planted widely, it is self-incompatible, which means the Bradford cannot make a viable seed if there's two Bradfords there. But as long as there's any other pyrus, which is the same genus as that is, as long as there's any other pyrus, all of those seeds can then become viable. So that's kind of the stage we're at right now, is that There is no argument to be made that just because I have a Bradford, it won't make a seed. There's enough pollen out there now that every single high-risk Callaway cultivar will make viable seed. I think that's undeniable at this point. So this is why we do things like that Bradford Pear Bounty, to try to get people to understand that these are not a good thing to plant. They're all over the roadsides and fields and in the woods, and they're one of the most problematic things from here to Mississippi to Ohio and even further up. So that is just one in a list of trees, but at this point I'll just stop and I'll take any questions or comments from folks.
Can you repeat the two chemicals that can be used to?
Sure, glyphosate, Glyphosate, commonly known as Roundup. Roundup is a trade name though, and so that patent is expired, so now it's sold as all sorts of different things. So it's important when you're looking at any chemical, any pesticide, you look on the label and it'll say what is the active ingredient, and that's what's really important. Right? The trade name is just like Crest versus Colgate. It doesn't really matter. It's all just the same stuff. So glyphosate is one. Extremely effective, extremely safe when you use the right equipment. It essentially kills anything green that it touches. Right? So it's a plants. What grass is not so much, but everything else green is probably going to hit it. And then the other is triclopyr, Triclopyr. Similar to glyphosate, except it really works best on woody things, vines, shrubs, trees. And this is one that you can spray.
What was the second one?
Vines or shrubs or trees. It works great on all three of those things.
Trico?
Triclopyr, Triclopyr. And there's lots of trade names for this too, just depending on where you get the stuff. Yes?
Could you just repeat, you're the professor, associate professor of?
Of forest health and invasive species.
Wow.
Can you recommend a good book?
For,
So like if I had a problem with one particular plant, that it would help me figure out what I could do to eradicate it?
yeah, there's actually, so there are two really good invasive species books I would recommend, and I'm not remembering the exact title, but they're two brown books, and I can get Tony PDFs. They're all on PDF at this point. I don't think they print them, but they're made by Forest Service scientists. One is an 8.5 by 11, and it is basically this is identification for all the invasive plants in the Southeast. And then there's one that's kind of a partner to it, and it is all management tactics. And so I will remember to send you those PDFs. They're extremely widely used, and they're awesome. I wish they would make more, but they're not going to. So
the Botanical Gardens also offers, or at least last year offered, 3 different classes on invasive plant species
Good class.
that you can attend, and it was, some were free and one was a nominal cost. But if you want to become more interested in and educated on the different plants, Amanda McIntosh and I forget the gentleman's name. Anyway,
James?
Thanks, James Wilkins. The two of them. I'm curious. Is Bradford pear still legal to sell in South Carolina?
not in South Carolina. So as of October 124, state legislation was passed to make it illegal to sell, wholesale in South Carolina. I was on the committee that helped get that through. Now, admittedly, we can't do anything about online sales. That's a whole nother wild west of a ball game. But it is illegal to sell it. It is not illegal to possess it. So the tree police aren't going to come and just whack all those down or anything. But you can no longer buy those in the state. And several states have done that, 5 or 6 now. I think we're up to.
And what is your general sense for, because I know in other spots across the U.S., native plants are going gangbusters and supply is more of an issue than demand. What would you say down in our neck of the woods as far as, because a lot of times homeowners, again, go to places and there's the plant pal in front of them and looking at colors or textures, whatnot. But do you see a trending towards exploration more of South Carolina natives? Or?
Yeah, I think the biggest problem is most people just don't know what to do, right? And if they want a tree in their yard, they stand in the yard and they look to this neighbor and this neighbor, and oh, there's a red maple and there's a Bradford pear. I'll plant one of those, and because they just don't know what the options are. And we've made this, and we've tried to work on this, that for every aesthetic thing you want out of a tree, if you want a nice pop of color in the spring, there's tons of native ones that do that. If you want that bright fall foliage, we got a bunch that'll do that too. And it's just a matter of getting people to understand that they're out there. They may not always be as easy to find, because then you get into the whole economics of supply and demand and all that. But there are nurseries out there that'll make them if you're willing to order them. And they're not that much more expensive, if at all, than something you get locally. So I think just the information, the knowledge is something we're working closely with the Forestry Commission to try to get all this out and say, look, here are all your options of native things.
And I'm not sure, is Trees Upstate, in their giveaway, are they exclusively native trees? Okay,
100%.
and when's the next one coming up for
The
annals?
next one we have is March to 27th,
So 2 free trees that people register online.
and then a lottery at the end.
And then, yeah, at the end, if there's still leftover inventory, so I got 6 or 7 free trees there last year.
And you know, we run the Bradford Pear Bounty Program where we give free trees away to people who get rid of Bradford. We've done it at Clemson, we're planning again, and we give all natives away too. And a lot of times people just have no clue that all these things are native that they're looking at. Like, oh my gosh, it's so pretty. Lots of stuff grows in this part of the world. It's not like we're up in Minnesota where I grew up. We had about 6 things that grow, right? You've got lots of options down here, but I think a lot of people just don't know them because you've got the same things planted so commonly commercially around. So fighting that has been a battle. Mhm.
I have a question, I have actually 2 questions.
Yes,
So how do you define invasive plants? Is it something which you are having a hard time getting rid of? Or how do you define it? Or it's destroying other plants?
To truly be invasive, you have to be not from here, so not, originating in this continent, have some sort of damage, potential to displace the native species and have a sustaining population.
Okay.
So the example I give is sweet gum is not invasive. It's super aggressive and super pesty, but it's a native species that's just really good at what it does, right? It is not an invasive, even though you could argue it behaves like one. It's just an early successional species that its whole role in nature and ecology is to colonize disturbed habitats, right? Same with loblolly pine, same thing. So those are, some would argue they're glorified weeds, and they have weedy properties for sure. But to be truly invasive, you have to not be from here, not from this continent, and then have those other characteristics. So there's the official definition.
Because some of the vines, and some of the plants, it's very hard to get rid of them.
Yeah.
Like I try Virginia creeper.
Mm-hmm. It's just good at what it does. It's good at what it does. I mean, it's a very aggressive,
It's very
growing
aggressive
native plant.
native plant.
And I think that's the difference. Some native plants are very aggressive.
It's very aggressive and it climbs all the way on the wall.
Makes it successful.
It looks, I mean, but sometimes I wonder, are they harmful? Or some people said that they are, it can be poisonous.
The Virginia creeper?
Yeah,
I've heard that. I've not done a lot
Yeah.
of digging to verify or validate any of that. But
It's-
yeah. And I know some of these natives are really aggressive and
yeah.
invasive-ish, but they're not by the true
Yeah,
definition. of the
so
word.
that's why I was asking the definition because, they are very aggressive. I do hear that they are poisonous, so it's hard, to find out. Even like you said that Bradford pears were supposed to be planted. I remember several years ago people used to plant those, just like crepe myrtles. It's so
Yeah.
hard to get rid of crepe myrtle, and it just keeps growing everywhere, and it's hard to get rid of. So
Yeah, plant something else. That's what I tell people.
would you call that invasive?
Crepe myrtle's a funny one because we have not seen it get distributed widely outside of where it's planted yet. Isolated pockets a little bit, but they're usually in places where there was a house and they left and there it goes. But we don't see crepe myrtle just randomly sprouting up along the side of the road, right?
Yeah,
So
not
is it
those.
non-native? Absolutely, right? And at this point, there's a whole bunch of weird hybrids. But it's not what I would call invasive because it hasn't spread outside of where we put it, and there's no documented negative effects of crepe myrtle. Those are the 2 keys there. And we were talking about poison ivy earlier.
Yeah.
There's certainly documented negative effects there, but that's just a native plant with toxins, with a toxic sap on it. So
It's invasive in Germany. When I was a little girl, there
Right.
was no poison ivy.
yeah,
And it came over.
yep. Yeah, so completely different, right? So from their perspective, it does check off all the boxes. It's not from here, spreading, and it has those negative impacts. So from the German perspective, yeah, poison ivy is absolutely an invasive. But here, it's just a native species that we, teach the kids not to.
Should we
not
get
to
rid of
touch
it or not?
What's that?
Should we get rid of these things or not?
Poison ivy?
Poison ivy.
Well, poison ivy serves a pretty good ecological role. I mean, it is it's bird feed for a lot of birds will eat those berries. Now, I think should you get rid of a pestiferous native is going to depend on your situation, right? I have a creek behind the house, and I have little kids. I'm getting rid of all the poison ivy because I'm not going to deal with the repercussions of them touching it, right?
Yep.
If I lived in a place where there were no kids, and I know what it is, I'm not going to go wading back there. I'd probably just leave it, right? So I think that it becomes more of a nuanced issue.
Okay, so
Yeah.
good to know. That's what I wanted to hear from you, that when it's invasive means it's not only the plant, if it's invasive for your household or if for your surroundings, for your yard, if you have kids, I'm seriously allergic to poison ivy. So you have to get rid of these things, even though if it's native.
Yeah. And in some cases, you have to do what is, I would argue, what's best for your family. And what's best for my family is getting rid of poison ivy, because I'm not going to deal with little kids with blisters all over the place. So, yeah. What were you going to say?
Did you you mentioned bamboo early.
Mm.
Is that an invasive?
Sure
or
is.
something? It is,
Yeah.
okay.
We have one type of bamboo in South Carolina that is not invasive, that's native. The genus is Arundinaria. It's known as switch cane or river cane. It's a very different growing pattern than the big, stands of bamboo that you see that the stalks are 30 feet high and all that. Those are all invasive. The river cane and switch cane doesn't get more than 6, 8, 10 feet tall. It's on lowlands, river bottoms, and it's really kind of bushy and leafy. So it almost looks like almost a shrubby layer down there.
So there's a spot in the experimental forest in Fans Grove
Mm-hmm.
that has bamboo. It's beautiful. And is that the invasive one?
If it's the one I'm thinking of, beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
I knew that's the thing.
You talking about like all the long stalks everywhere?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's invasive. I would love to get rid of it, but they won't let me just yet. So.
Okay. Interesting. Okay.
There are some, there's some aesthetic value perhaps, but I see it in probably a different light than most. But that is absolutely an invasive bamboo.
Okay.
Yeah, Botanical Garden has a bunch of areas where they have bamboo bushes.
But he's saying that there's some that are
The tall
invasive
one,
and
the
some
small
that
one.
aren't. So,
So with plants, there's always some nuance with plants, right? And bamboo especially because it doesn't spread really other than through the roots. Okay, it seeds maybe once every 80 years and then it dies. I've never seen it actually go to flower and seed. I've only heard that it does it every several decades. But when you have a plant like bamboo that only is growing through, really just spreading through the roots, it can be controlled. And so a place like the Botanical Garden, I would trust them to keep it where it is, because you can control by mowing around it and all sorts of things. So they probably do have non-native species of bamboo that would be invasive if they weren't managed right. So plants is really the only invasive thing you can effectively manage, kind of like that. Another example is in the town where I live, there's a restaurant we go to, and it's got about a 3 foot by 20 foot, just little chunk of dirt next to the building, and there's bamboo in there. And all that bamboo is growing up and providing some shade. It's surrounded by concrete, so it's never going anywhere, ever. So is it technically invasive bamboo? Yes. But is that particular clump going to do anything? No. Right? So location matters a little bit for some of these things. Again, then you get into some of the more nuance. But the stuff like up in Fans Grove or driving wherever, I drove up, from here, I saw patches of it all over the state. Unkept and unmanaged, it is 100% invasive. Yep. Yeah.
David, when you're talking about herbicides, what percentage of glyphosate should they be looking for when they're looking at the label for it to be effective as a concentrate?
Well, concentrates are typically sold in the 49 to 51% active ingredient, and then you'll dilute it from there because, again, the label will tell you all the fine details, but typically you're putting it on at about a 2 to 4% active ingredient rate. So what you start with is going to depend on how to determine how you dilute that stuff, but all of that is going to be on the label. It will tell you what concentration to use for what type of thing you're trying to do. And the label is the law, so it's a federal thing. Whatever it says on the label is absolute legal. That's the legalese behind all of it, so that is what needs to be followed.
Perfect.
Any question? Well, thank you so much, David. It was
Yeah,
very,
thank you.
very, thank you so much, and very informative.
Happy to help, happy to come back and get it
Yes.
again if you need, so.
Yeah, I
Thanks,
think
everybody.
we would be asking you to come back again, probably. Action item, we don't have any. Discussion item. We'll talk about our, this committee, sustainability committee's goals and the people who are dealing with those goals. Yes, we are here.
No committees, Rita.
No, we have no committee, but this is sustainability committee. I'm talking about our goals. Those goals are our goals.
I see.
Yes, I'm talking about sustainability committee's goals. When we started it, we had goals defined as wildlife certification, energy efficiency, natural resources. Our goals were based on these topics and items. So people who are working on these topics, we'd like them to go ahead and talk about it.
Okay, well, I'll start off. I still haven't gotten back into the wildlife certification rework. I feel very stymied, just because, you know, we've gotten all of the things that I feel like I can really work on done, and now we're just into the part where we just have to get these people to get their yards certified. And I think the spring is really the time to do that, so I haven't really been beating myself up too much for not doing it. But any fresh ideas that people have, things that we could do, would be great. So if anybody has any ideas, let me know. And then we'll see, maybe we can get a table together for the festivals for the spring. I think that's the best idea we've come up with. So do I need to, I've given up on National Wildlife Federation actually giving us a tablecloth to use for the festival, but I'm wondering do we have a contact there that we could ask permission to get one printed?
I think Shannon with the South Carolina Wildlife Federation had sent me a bunch of information about signage that they've done for other places.
Yeah, but this would be through, I mean, because we want to get certified for NWF,
Right.
so we really have to use their logo.
You could always cross out SC and put N.
I don't know that people,
Who would
I wonder if we could
notice?
do something as simple as maybe just have the tablecloth and print out that logo and just pin it to the tablecloth. as long
Okay,
as
that's
we're-
true.
As long as we're displaying it, I think maybe that would check the box.
Okay.
What
Do
festival
they
are you
provide
talking
the,
about?
Hold on.
What festival?
Well, in general, we had just talked about in the spring, when they have the farmer's market, or that we've talked about doing the farmer's market, we've talked about doing at the Arts Center, we've talked about anywhere where they have tables set up where the public is coming through. If we can do it without spending a lot of money, I think that would be a great place to get the word out to other people. Because, you just need to chat with them. So you just need a big venue, so some people will come up who are interested, so you can talk to them about the project. The only other thing we've talked about is writing a letter and sending it to housing, associations and churches and schools. Now, we did work on the schools a good bit last year. So that might be a thing I can work on before the spring, is getting a letter together.
And the Girl Scouts, the Girl Scout troop is still working on, they were gonna do brochures, and they were in the schools, they were gonna do a little goodie bag to give away, and they had several different things that were gonna be helping with their project.
So I was just gonna say, using national wildlife symbols logos. Certification, they may need to, like just what we were talking about for the tablecloth, to be careful.
Yeah.
No.
Most organizations are thrilled for you to publicize as long as you use their actual logo and colors and fonts and everything that
Well, I
keeps
don't
their
think it's a
brand
problem
intact.
of them not allowing it, it's just a matter of their timing to get it through them.
Yeah.
It might take a month through the communication channels to figure out who do you.
Well, and sometimes these things are just, it's better to ask forgiveness than permission, and they're not gonna, I mean, does anybody yell at the Girl Scouts? Probably not.
They're, right now, we're trying to do a brochure that we could put on the city website, so it's in communications.
No, that's
It's
obviously a different
Yes.
set of situations.
It's going through a whole process of
Are they-
approval there, so, but to your point, Bob, I'll just reach out to them tomorrow and remind them, and maybe just copy that clause on the National Wildlife website that talks about publication of their
Yeah,
logos.
then they can make a decision.
How can you reach out to them? Have you ever tried calling somewhere or someplace? Is there
Yes, well, I've emailed. Email seems to be the best way to get in touch with them. If I
Okay.
email them, I do get an answer back.
You do? So you have asked from them for tablecloth or any other?
I cannot find the right person to ask. That's my problem with that. And they may be just shuffling me around because that's not something they do. So, and that's okay. We can make it work.
Yeah, but as I said that, hope we are not just crossing the line where we can use their logo symbol without asking them.
Well, we have permission to use their, all of their handouts
Okay.
have their logo on
Yeah.
it. So you could say, I have permission to use their logo, so I'll just blow up what I already have
Yeah, I can
and put
make
it
a
out on display.
sign, yeah.
I think that would
That's
be all
something.
right.
Another thing I came to my mind, since there are so many new neighborhoods in this cities coming, but those new houses which they're building, they don't have much yard, or it's a new yard they have. However, behind this, some area they have, like all the way in the back, they have wooded areas. But what's their role and what's the connection? Is there any connection between wildlife certification and wildlife?
Are you talking
prevention
about
in that?
inside Clemson?
Yeah, inside Clemson, I'm talking about inside Clemson.
What's the question, Reva?
I mean, there's so many neighborhoods coming up in the
Sure.
Clemson area, the Grange, and right behind my house, what it is called? Kingsport, or some neighborhood behind my house. And I was just thinking about it, that they have wooded areas, some of the houses, where it can be used, but not majority of the houses, they don't have yard actually. And that yard is taken care by the
Even if you have a very
HOA.
small yard, you can still get certified. I mean, have the size of the yard is not a qualification at all. You just have
Okay.
to, if you have a blueberry bush, or you have a bird feeder and
Oh,
a
okay.
waterer, and, I mean, if you want to get certified, you could have a postage stamp size lawn, and you could still
Oh.
get certified. You just have to know what to do.
Oh,
So that
okay.
would not be a constraint at all.
Is that part, should that be part of like how we send the message?
Yes, I was thinking what I would do when we do the table, because the information sheet, the checkoff sheet to see if you qualify can be confusing. But if you break it down into, habitat, and you could just have a birdhouse on your table, that's habitat. And, water source, you can get one of those little puddling things for butterflies, that's a water source. And then, you could get a bowl of acorns, do you have most people have an oak tree or a maple tree in their backyard. Those are great food sources for wildlife. So you could just put those out on the table, so people could see, we're not asking you to rip out your lawn and redo everything so that, it's perfect habitat. We just want you to think, when you're going to pick flowers, you pick the echinacea instead of something else that won't provide food. You know, just make choices when you're picking things so that you're providing some benefit to wildlife. So new houses would actually be great because they're the ones who are still picking which plants they're putting in their yard. So if we can talk to them and say, hey, why don't you put in a red maple or an oak instead of something that's not going to have any benefit for wildlife, you know, that would be fabulous.
So, then, but since you are telling me this thing, what about talking to I don't think that we can talk to the contractor or the developer, but the person, realtor who is sitting there and they're selling those houses, maybe they are the talking point?
I mean, the people who are selling the houses have no reason to, I mean, unless they were personally really, that was important to them personally. I mean, their job is to sell houses, right?
Yeah.
That's their job. But when you have a new group of people coming in and they're setting up an HOA,
Yes.
that's when I think would be the time to go talk to people and say, hey, now that you're new, you've got these beautiful open yards that you could put anything in, why don't you think about this as part of your choices, so when you're thinking of things, maybe you can choose this instead of that. And they have great posters that say this instead of that. You know, instead of planting a Chinese holly, plant an American holly. You know, instead of planting geraniums, plant this. You know, just the real common things that people buy to put in their new yards, give them an alternative and say, hey, look for this instead. And that might help.
Yeah, because, I don't know, I mean, probably what they're putting in those new houses, yards, I don't know, it depends. I don't think owners, they are going to decide. I think the builder and their
Well, the builder usually puts,
landscaper, they
you know,
decide.
they put that one tree in the front yard. That's always what they do.
Yeah.
So, you know, but the people who move in, they're the ones who are putting all the trees and they'll add trees and they'll add shrubs and they'll add flowers, we hope. And it'll look good.
Does the Chamber of Commerce have flyers or anything like this for, like, you know, when people move to the area or move, you know?
There is a packet that you get, isn't there?
Yeah, that's
That would be great.
also
Saying-
like
in
an
that packet,
an
yeah.
invasive species flyer.
Yeah, well, just, were you aware that these common plants that you can buy for your yard are invasive and you should avoid them and plant this instead? We could certainly make up a flyer
Yeah.
like that.
And then the wildlife certification. And
That's a
yeah.
great idea.
I can talk to Brian. That's very good.
Yeah, that's excellent, Shelley.
The Native Plant Society website has exactly that, alternate plantings recommendations, not colorful per se, doesn't have pictures, but it's very comprehensive. And for those who are looking, April 18th is the next upstate native plant sale out at Conisty. So there's going to be, I think last plant sale we had 5,000 to 6,000 plants available for sale. So there's.
So maybe reaching out to the new residents, new people who are buying, that's a really good idea, because there are so many new houses coming. Like the Grange has all this, how many houses? 1,300 or something like that. So that's a, you know,
I love the
and
new, the packet idea,
yeah, and the packet,
because I remember
Can
getting
be.
one of those.
yeah, so it can be inserted in their packet. All right, well, thank you, Cindy. Anything else? Any other question regarding this? No?
No.
Thank you. Let's move on to energy efficiency.
My first question is, we applied early in December for that grant. Have you heard anything from Ally on that? I imagine they haven't told us yet.
Yeah, I haven't.
I've seen the newsletters come through from the Department of Energy, and they said the last round went out, and I don't think we've heard yet, but we're hopeful that'll help us with the lighting in here, which is something we're working on. And the other two things we're working on, EV chargers and guidelines for development related to sustainability is an agenda item, so we'll discuss that then.
Okay.
Finished.
All right, well, thank you. Short and sweet.
does somebody remember what the full name for the Natural Resources Committee was?
I think that was it. I
Oh,
think that was the goal.
Thank you. It's not a committee, sorry.
It's okay. It's hard.
Natural Resources Goal.
Yeah.
Goal.
Andrew's
It's
not
It's not
here.
a working group, it's like
Does,
that, it's
no,
goals.
does anybody have a report on that goal?
Natural resources.
Okay. And is Andrew excused?
Andrew, I think, was late turning the letter in to renew.
Oh, Andrew's not on the
Andrew's
committee?
not on the-
Yeah, he was a 1 year.
So
He
Nanda.
said he was gonna re-up.
I'll go over that.
and
Are you
Andrew.
ready for me to go to staff reports? Sorry to
Yeah,
interrupt you.
no, that's all right. If natural resource report, if you don't have that, that means you're ready for your report.
Okay.
And that will probably give us other answer for all the rest of the things.
Sorry, apologize for interrupting you, Eunice,
No
but
problem.
I was going to talk about that mostly in the staff report here. During the February meeting, we will introduce a new member, Robert Ellsworth. There were only 2 applications for 3 spots that were open, so council's only option was to go with one of those so that we would have an odd number, and that's for voting. So we will go from 9 members down to 7 members.
Okay, so my question is Nanda, Nancy, and Andrew are not absent. They're not on the
They're not.
committee.
They're not on the committee.
Meaning we are the full committee.
Yes.
I
Guess
see.
we've got quorum then.
So once Robert Ellsworth is added in February,
Well, we've got a new one starting in February, he said.
Okay.
yes, Robert Ellsworth will be the new member. That will take us from 9 members down to 7 members.
7 members.
And keep this in mind, during that meeting, I will put an action item to vote positions. That will be chair, vice chair, and secretary. So
Can we have a treasurer and some money?
you'll have to do a recommendation
I'm
and go to
kidding.
council with that
That
one.
was a joke.
I know.
So is it closed now? So since there were 3 spots and only 2 people applied, it can't be, we have to wait a whole year?
But Nana came on mid-year.
She replaced,
Yeah, that one girl who
yeah,
came to one meeting.
I can't remember
Yeah.
her name, but she
Can't either,
replaced
yeah.
someone.
Oh. So replacing is different than,
Then
Than
appoint.
adding,
Adding.
appointing. Yeah.
oh,
Yes, sir.
So how can we get the word out way before and get more?
With our work.
so
Yeah.
I thought, you know, if I went off, there's no reason you couldn't keep me from coming to these meetings. So we need to get that word to Andrew.
Yeah, Andy can still come and be a part of.
Yeah. Yeah.
He can come as a participant.
Yeah, we were talking about.
Yeah, he
it.
just can't vote. He
Yeah,
said he
he-
couldn't vote,
yeah.
but that's okay. We'd still love to have any input. He's such a great idea man.
Yes.
Do officers have to be
And I
members of the committee?
Send that. We can request, yeah.
Officers meaning chair, vice
Chair,
chair, and
vice
secretary?
chair.
Absolutely. They have to be a member of this committee to hold those positions, yes, sir.
For official positions, we need to have people who are part of this committee
Yeah.
who have
And
been appointed.
Each of you were appointed by city
What?
council.
Yeah.
So that's the only process.
Can I do what?
Didn't you come in the middle too?
I thought I came, it wasn't the middle, but
It
what
wasn't
was?
January.
No, it wasn't January.
It was February. I just looked at it. It was February last year.
February?
Yeah.
Interesting,
So I
okay.
was trying to find where we had, who had what year term limits, because we couldn't remember.
So, in planning, like, for next year, could we make it more, I guess it's kind of like, I think I saw the application, because I had been looking for, like, you know, when new applications were taken, and it was like, I saw it, and it had to be in like that week. Like, can we give a heads up, like, we will be taking applications next month, please consider, you know, talk to your friend, talk to people, but I think,
I'm pretty sure that the city is already doing that well, and several
Yeah,
of us,
okay.
like me and Claiborne Linville, our city councilwoman, is publishing it, but it is a problem of the city and every organization that there is no longer a way to reach everybody. Not everybody reads email, looks at
Yeah.
Facebook, looks at the city website. So the problem is less that the city's not putting it out, but that residents don't pay attention to anything that happens in this room.
Yeah, there's not a community newspaper anymore that goes out where those things were read by everybody.
So it's the problem of the multiple markets and how to get to people who might be interested. It's potentially something we could do with, so you remember how we had that forum that everybody came? At that point, we could say, and we need people on this committee, join us, and could you tell your membership of that?
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
To
that's a
reach
great-
out to all
yeah.
the sustainable groups.
I still feel that the electronic billboard is really, I have seen some places they had on electronic billboard, they will have the
Well, we have one
city, yeah,
up there,
yeah, that's right. So up there and maybe,
committee, apply to be on a committee.
well, city is looking for,
But you can't click on an electronic billboard.
no, but yeah, at least people are walking and then they can call and make an, request. At least they will know that city is looking for it. Do we have it in our community connection? Do we advertise it?
Yes.
Yeah, so, but obviously,
You are part of the informed population.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
problem.
As are all of us.
Yeah.
And I mean, for example, I think I asked John to apply, otherwise he wouldn't know about it, right? So I'm always recruiting people for all kinds of committees. It's just something I do. So I encourage you to do that as well between now and December. And think about diversity. Like, I'd really like to have a young person like Andrew. I'd like to have a renter, right? I'd like to have, I don't know. I mean, we're doing pretty good with male and female here, but diversity in who you ask. But I just knew John loved plants and sustainability. So think of those people and ask them, and tell your friends to ask them.
Could we make a note to put it on the agenda so we remind, if it goes out in December? Is that when the call goes out?
It may have even gone out before then.
Okay, maybe in October,
3 or
we should
4
start
months.
reminding ourselves, hey, talk to your friends, talk to your neighbors. If you happen to be going to a meeting like Sierra Club or Master Naturalist, say, hey, if anybody lives in the Clemson area, we're looking for folks to do this.
So the October agenda, Tony.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll make a note.
October agenda.
Well, the thing to do now is to, we're down to 7, so is to view that as a positive. We can be more concise and, direct and, see what the great things that Robert has to bring. And, this will just be a different year. And yeah, I think you're right about recruiting people that that would be
Yeah.
interested and invested, members of the.
And remember, the original charter asked for a landscaper to be on this committee. We sort of have John in that role because he landscapes, but that's not his business, right? So we do want somebody that works in the field of plants to be on the committee.
So Tony, can you answer this question? So as you said that in the middle of the year we can have only replacements, not,
Yes, can't add members.
yeah, can't have membership. So right now, are we replace? Nanda, was her term over or we have? we can-
Yes,
Oh.
yes, Eunice was not Eunice, I'm sorry. Elaine was a 1 year. And Elaine left because she moved out of
Okay, yeah, she
town and
replaced her.
Nanda replaced her.
Okay, Nanda replaced her.
And she actually didn't move, so I've been trying to get her back,
Good job.
I know, yeah. That fell through, yeah.
I'm gonna go really quickly
Yeah.
through my staff because I know there's a lot more on this
Okay.
agenda, unless you guys have any more comments.
No, we
The main thing I want to talk about here was just the Great Arbor Day event we had. Eunice, the Sierra Club came out, the Daniel High School Rise Club. John came out. We had a great planting day. We planted 7 trees around the U pickleball courts. And it was just a great afternoon. We're going to add 3 more trees to those areas. We've got 3 poplar trees that we're gonna add to kind of beef up that. We're gonna put one in the dog park, so there'll be some shade there. And we're just gonna put a
Tree.
tomato cage around the whole mulch tree area, so it'll be protected. So that'll be cool. I just want to give a shout out to the guys with their mulching efforts. We were adding up the amount of mulch that the guys put out last year. It was 422 cubic yards.
Wow.
That is enough mulch to cover a football field 3 inches deep.
Wow.
But that is how much those guys did in just a couple of months, because we really have between January and March to do this after the leaves come down. So that is a tremendous amount of work for just a couple of guys, and they're tremendously dedicated. So they've started on that again. I did promote, we promoted Brody Manley to ground supervisor. We went with a ground supervisor instead of a horticulturist like we had before, because I need someone who is a working supervisor and is helping game plan, and that has been very effective. He has jumped right in there. He's been with us for a while. Everybody's comfortable with him, and he's got a lot of new ideas and initiatives. So that's been really good. Was able to get the spider lift out and do some pruning at Dawson Park. So that was cool to get up in that thing and start doing some of that kind of pruning ourselves. And let's see, sidewalks around Clemson Park are going in, footers for the new shelter are being poured. So landscaping will be next around the skate park, and then the fence will move, the skate park will open up, and everybody can go down there and start having fun.
Date projected?
I can't do that.
Yeah, don't.
Because
Yeah.
you know what happens when you make dates.
Yeah, you're smart.
People hold you to it. And,
That's right.
You know, they have experienced some rain. Rain on red clay is not one day, it's a week.
Yeah.
That stuff stays slimy. So they're on schedule, just a little bit behind, but they're on schedule. So it should be very soon. We held our budget kickoff, changed a little bit of things. Instead of giving our goals and our achievements, we're doing past, future, and present, and just kind of fleshing out our why a little bit more with what we're asking for, what we're doing every day, and why we're asking it. And that just communicates how we're aligning with the city's vision and what the council is wanting with our personal department divisions. So visions. And then we've got the future plans. I don't want to read all this stuff off, but you guys can kind of see where we're at. And
Are the
any
green
questions?
infrastructure workshops, is that information available?
Not yet. And there are just a whole bunch of people involved with this. I tried to get as many people as I could. Sent emails. Andrew's on there. I tried to get a lot of university folks are on there, the botanical gardens, because from that workshop, they did encompass the university property too, and that's where we have a lot of those wildlife cores, a lot of thick forest there around the botanical garden, so we wanted to include that since we do share natural resources. The second workshop, we talked about our focus, and our focus is habitat and conservation. One of the reasons I applied for this grant is because during the park master plan, the second most asked for thing, besides trails and connectivity, was conservation.
Right.
So the reason to ask for this green infrastructure plan, technical assistance, was opportunities for conservation. This can also inform planning and codes on how we continue to develop our city and making sure that we're continuing to keep these sensitive natural areas preserved and protected, because we need to have those contiguous areas for our habitat. We are a bird sanctuary by ordinance, the city of Clemson is. I'll send you guys that ordinance. I just discovered this. So if we have this in an ordinance, how are we protecting it? Birds are very sensitive to, as you know, very sensitive to those connected or fractured corridors. They will not mate if they don't have those corridors. So it's very important, if we're going to be a bird sanctuary, that we're providing everything
That's
that they need.
good tool to give things a little teeth.
Absolutely.
Great job, Tony. Wonderful.
Very excited about it.
Yeah, so this, I mean, in the comprehensive plan, they have land use is one area, so this can relate to that. And the natural environment is another area
Yes,
that relates to that.
absolutely.
Great.
Yeah, and this, at the end of this, what will happen is, based on our recommendations, based on our input, the Green Infrastructure Center, who is providing this technical assistance, they will give us a whole list of recommendations and strategies towards maintaining these areas, how we can incentivize conservation in our community, a whole litany of things. They did this for the tree canopy mapping and for the ecological benefits package that they gave us. So same group is doing this, and all of this ties together, and eventually it will be an urban forest master plan, which will encompass the whole town, and it'll have all of these components and give us a guideline on all these things and how we can move ahead. So I'm trying to do all this work so I can pass it on to somebody else and make it easy for them to manage all this stuff. So,
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
all right, guys, done.
Good job, yeah. Lots of things going on, lots of things are moving. It's a great thing. I wanted to ask you one question. So, since, is there any plan on, for the College Avenue?
Okay, yes. I haven't been in these meetings, but the streetscape is going to start, I think, and run from, excuse me if I'm wrong, April to August. They're gonna come do it all this summer, and it will be finished in mid-August, so that it'll be ready for football season. Downtown is going to be very challenging to navigate. I think they're having a meeting with the businesses tomorrow, just to kind of give a timeline on this. But some of your on-street parking is going away. There are going to be larger trees planted down there. The sidewalks will get larger to handle all of the pedestrian traffic that is being funneled down through there. But this is a very positive thing for downtown. But there'll be some rerouting of some streets and things happening. But the big message I wanted to tell you is downtown's going to be hard to get around.
So is this really gonna be downtown and then uptown, all the way out to,
This is just downtown. This will go from, oh man, like I said, I'm sorry I haven't been in the meetings, but this will be, let's just say from Keith Street to Highway 93, or Earl Street to Highway 93, just that section right there, and it'll wrap around some of North Clemson.
What about this corner, starting from Starbucks to,
This will just be downtown. Yep, this part of it will just be downtown.
Where you've got all the street parking. Yeah, that'll be great,
Yep.
because they have been, there was too many people walking on those sidewalks when I was a student, so I know it
And they're
hasn't
as
gotten any
wide as
better.
this
That was a
table.
long time ago.
a long time. No, they do need, yeah, sidewalks. Though I always wonder that, where is the space? But obviously, they know how to create the space, because I always wondered about it. But thank you so much, Tony, for all the updates when you get back and we need to know about it. And we'll keep following actually these activities which you said all through our, like spring and, updates on these things. We'll follow through these things. My next agenda. All right, update from November 14th meeting with Andy, Jeremiah. We can thank you this. Okay. Oh, well, We had a meeting on November 14th with Andy and Jeremiah, and Tony was there, regarding our committee and regarding all the questions which we had. We were not able to get the answer, and we did not know how to really navigate from there with our individual committees and commissions, which were, you guys talked about it, that you guys are not able to work on those, your projects and your goals because of the not very clear message. So in this meeting, we tried to clarify things, which was pretty good. And we received what we understood. Our understanding was that the main thing is that transparency, which is important for the city. That whatever we do, every commission, every committee, whatever they are doing, it has to be completely transparent. And in that process, because of that, as a group, when we are working as a group, they did not want to really work as, give us the permission to work as a group. We are just one group, and we can pick up one project, and they don't see any disadvantage that we don't have a small group. And the reason they also wanted to stress this point because it was getting harder for us because everything has to be transparent, everything has to be in front of the, Tony has to come and open the door and every, as you said that it was a kind of a sticky situation when every meeting has to be recorded and minutes, and that was getting too much. So it was a lot for everybody. Tony had to come, and because of that, they decided, and we decided actually, not they decided, we decided that it's okay for us to go, as a group, and each one of you can work together. And another thing was that even, as I said, transparency is the main issue with them. So they wanted us to make sure that we don't form a group and emails has to be coming from one person, not as a group you cannot send emails to each other. I think that's what that's what I gathered.
These are also rules, not that the city made, they're rules for the way you do government. And the outcome is that the Sustainability Committee does not have any subcommittees or working groups. We have some goals, but we don't have that, and so we should abandon the use of the word committee and working group. And also that the members of the committee should not send an email to the full committee, because if you send an email to the full committee, it could be considered a meeting. And again, this is not Clemson's rule, it's a state rule, right? So email me, how we used to email each other back and forth. We can't do that. So if you want to send an email to the full committee, you send it to Tony. He'll collect several things and then send it to us. However, since there's 7 of us, if you're sending it to less than half of the group, so 3 people or less, you can send the email. You send all the emails you want to John and Cindy or Rita and Bob, but you cannot send an email to the whole committee. If you want something sent to the whole committee, like when Tony sent us the agenda, you send it to Tony, or if Rita wants to have, please submit agenda items, she sends it to Tony and he sends it to
So it has to go through Tony. So Tony is aware of that. And then, and as I said, that it makes it easier for us to work together on, because our goal is to just work on our, goals and projects which we have taken, under our, volunteer work. And as you said, that's important that now it's not the city's rule, it's the
state rule.
It's the policies,
State
the
rules
state
for
rules,
government.
and that's a state, and they have to follow, and they don't want to, and we need to support them, and we need to follow that, so their job is easier. So, and I don't see any problem with that. I don't see it at all. We can definitely work together because, as I said, our goal is to achieve what we have described in our in the beginning of this commission.
Great.
And this is what we want to do. So I think is there any question?
No, I think that makes sense.
Makes sense? Yeah, makes, so now you guys, I mean, very much, I know Eunice had said that because we are, as a committee or subcommittee, we are not able to meet, and our work is kind of,
No subcommittees.
so it's easier now, you can go ahead and.
We can discuss goals in small groups of 3
Small
or
groups,
less.
yes, as you
Much
said,
as
that
we-
it's like, 2 or 3.
So 3 or less, is that, so you can send an email to 3 people or
I think
only
to
2?
two people.
Two,
Because
because
then
the
it's-
you're
group
the
has to
third.
be 3
So
people.
you can send an email to 2 people.
Okay,
That's because there's only 7 of us. If we were 9, you could send it to,
okay.
so,
And that would be individual get-togethers also, 3 or less.
right, you can't get together with 4 of us, because that would be, on the
Right.
fly.
Right.
But you can get together with 2 others, and that's interesting. Anyway, moving
But
on.
that's all right.
Number
I mean,
4.
This is fine. No, that was much needed information we needed to know about it.
Any other?
All right. Well, thank you very much for all this information and update on EV charger in Clemson.
So this is just something we've been looking into, and I wanted to let you know. I found out from Andy that when this building was built, they worked with Duke Energy, who was willing to put an EV charger here at no cost. And so they said yes. But in the process of the negotiations, Duke Energy, which is in North Carolina, didn't use the rules from South Carolina, and they were negotiating how to transfer the EV charger to the city 5 years later, whatever it was, I don't remember the details. But that never got worked out. The building got built and the EV charger didn't get put in. And the city does not have money set aside for EV chargers, although we can certainly ask for it. And there's a few of us, Cindy, Bob, and I, that are looking into some aspects of EV chargers, which I have no further report on. But for example, could the Harris Teeter put in one? Could the Ingalls put in one? If we ever have an answer on that, we'll let you know. But that's all. I just want to let you know why the city wasn't able to do that. That's all they knew about their history. Remember, we're trying to get the history on things we want to do before we charge ahead. But the next thing, I have quite a lot more to say. Can we move to that? Or does anybody have a question about the EV chargers?
Any questions? No? All right, we can move.
So Bob and Cindy and I have been working on this guidelines for development and land use, and have collected that from several cities, for example, Mount Pleasant and other places, and have put some things together and got to the point where we decided it's time to talk to the staff before we charge too far ahead. So the 3 of us are planning to meet with the staff. We put together a little description of what we're asking the staff, and we're going to meet with Stacy Blackwell first, sometime this month or later, if it's okay with all of you. So we put together this proposal. The importance of maintaining the city of Clemson's natural environment is emphasized in the comprehensive plan, which states the city seeks to embed sustainability and resilience into relevant city decisions to balance growth with environmental stewardship, climate preparedness, and long-term well-being of future generations. With regard to land use and development, members of the City Sustainability Advisory Committee seek to meet with you and initiate discussions about current and future sustainability guidelines and regulations that provide incentives for developers to incorporate low-impact or other environmental actions into their design, construction, and renovation of projects. Like you bought an apartment building, you're renovating it. So we are going to be attaching the ones we have from Mount Pleasant, which does focus quite a lot, and I haven't copied that for you, it's lengthy, but it focuses a lot on flooding concerns because it's Mount Pleasant, right? But we want to develop one for us, and we're proposing, Tony, you asked this, January 27th, sometime between 9 and 11 to meet with Stacy, and he's going to check on that. But just to give you a little more heads up on one of them, Mount Pleasant, but others have this, is create incentives to any developer who wants to renovate an apartment, build a new apartment, build a housing development. For example, you could require a certain number of points to be allowed to build, and they could get points by making their development a natural wildlife thing.
Sure.
Each home that you build has to be a natural wildlife certified home, right? So that means they're planting blueberries and not whatever. Or you could require, they could get more points for putting in solar, or they could get points for putting in a Green Crescent Trail link, right? So we will create this, but I do think it's a way for this, and what we want from you tonight, not a vote, but are you okay with us going forward with this? We want to create one that's more Clemson specific, that includes some of the stuff Tony's figuring out, the corridors for birds. We're a wildlife city, we need a corridor here. And it has more carrots than sticks, so that eventually the city council can say to developers, oh, you're coming, here's your choices. You have to get 50 points. You can choose a big one, like you get 40 points for putting solar on the building, or you can choose 30 little ones, right? Your choice, but you cannot build or renovate in our city without doing something sustainable. So are you all okay with going forward on that?
Yes.
So we've learned from working with Ron Stewart, I keep saying Ron Stewart, which I just want to say that. And the hair, he doesn't have that hair. But we've learned that we went too far, and once we talked to him, we realized, oh, he's already done that. So we just want to make sure that they haven't already embedded some incentives into it, and that we're not writing, but basically, we've collected some information from different cities, have some idea about incentives, and we want to see who in the city will end up doing this work, creating the document, making it a law, and then when they've done that work, we'll bring it to the city council and say, please pass this, so that every development is sustainable, that the city develops, instead of, oh, you want to build? Okay. Right. So any questions about that? I just want to make sure all of you know what we're doing and approve.
Just in general terms, I'm not familiar with impervious surface. What's the percentage on a parcel for commercial development?
I can send you those numbers. It's in the ecological benefits package. Those numbers directly affect watersheds. There's 5 watersheds in the city of Clemson. So one of them being downtown, which is pretty close to being at its tipping point to being unhealthy. There's another one that's over near Patrick Square. It's on that tipping point, so impervious surfaces are very important.
Well, and there's so many things already in the laws. Like if you build a building, you have to put in 2 bike racks, right? And we don't even know what all those things are. But what I'm suggesting is we get all of those together in a single document, so when a developer comes and says, I want to build here, they can gain points. And one thing Mount Pleasant did that I think is quite clever is they let you do more than the required amount, and then you get something, right? So you know how buildings want to be an extra story or want to make less parking spaces, or, right? So put 7 EV chargers in your parking deck, and you get bonus points, and then you might be able to say, and I'm getting, so say we require 300 points, I'm going to do 500 points, and could you please give me X? And then the city council will get to say, well, that's great, and we'll let you do that. Whereas now we're kind of saying, make it a planned development, build what you want, right? So it gives the city council, my hope is, it gives the city council teeth.
Yeah.
And says, well, go back to the document and find something else, right? And the choices are so numerous, and as you said, some of them, like impervious surfaces, bike racks, is already in the laws. We know that.
Do you have any solar already for solar panels?
We have, so Stacy Blackwell in particular, who we're meeting with, is the person you would talk to if you're going to put in solar around here to make sure you match all the laws. So he's knowledgeable about that, so I'll tell you more later. We're all amateurs like you are.
Yeah.
But we read stuff, and this is where we're going. And I do think it really could be a major focus of the committee going forward. Like all the tree things can be put in here too, right? If you take out a tree, right? Or if you make a tree, what is it called? A preserved?
Heritage tree.
Heritage tree. So all the things we talked about could come into this document and
So
could go out to all developers.
Talking about when I was telling you that new developments and new areas where they're building new houses. I was just talking about that.
Exactly, right.
That ties to the
One tricky thing is, like, the Grange was built and then got annexed.
Yes.
And so we were not talking to the developer ahead of time. And as you know, the city of Clemson is pretty much 100% developed. So there's a few spaces that it's not, but we're gonna have to make sure we write this so that it's redeveloped too, right? You are gonna somebody buys Lowe's and is gonna redesign it into whatever. They have to do something too, right?
Yeah, they have to improve it.
So because, as you know, Clemson's pretty full. We're not putting in another Grange in Clemson unless we annex somewhere. And there we wouldn't have the teeth because we'd been annexing what was already built. And that's, of course, what happened to Camelot, Patrick Square, and the Grange. Those were all annexed after they were built. So.
The solar is one of the things which, I personally feel that it should be in one of those public buildings also, public parking places, parking decks.
Exactly. I can mail that to you, perhaps. That would be a good thing to do, Cindy. No, we can't. We have to mail it to Tony, and he can mail it to all of you, and you can look at it. It's just so long that I didn't want to overwhelm you, and I didn't want to print all the pages. But when
Or you can just look it up on their website. I mean, if you just Google Mount Pleasant Sustainable
I'll do
Building,
that.
it just comes right up. So,
And when I read it, I got excited.
Yeah,
Right? I
me
mean,
too.
I was looking at Chicago and bigger cities, but when I read it, I was like, ooh, we could do this, right? So I think if you read it, so Mount Pleasant Sustainable Development, look that up and go sort of to the end. And the beginning is all about their flooding problems, so skip that part. Anyway, that's all, and thank you for approval, and we'll get back to you. The plan is Bob and Cindy and I are gonna first meet with Stacy, and he's gonna give us direction, and we might also need to meet with Ethan and Nathan, is what we think, but we're not sure yet. And Tony's already been helping us with that, so you have the dates and times? Great.
Thank you, Miss. Item number 6, discuss sustainability committee member attending council meetings.
I was going to take this one.
Okay.
I actually went to my first council meeting last month. It was very interesting, and I suggest everybody do it. They meet twice a month, and do you know how far in advance that agenda comes out for the city council meetings?
It comes out I believe the Wednesday the week prior to the Monday. meeting.
Yeah, I wish it came out earlier, because, I mean, eventually what we want to get moving toward is we know ahead of time when the council is going to talk about something that we would want to have something to say about. And then we would know ahead of time, we would get something prepared and somebody would go and make a comment or talk about it, just as a member of the public attending. And I don't know, is there any way that we can get that kind of information from city council ahead of time, or we just have to wait for that agenda to come out?
What I would suggest, because a lot of those items are submitted by staff, so what I would suggest is there's usually a second reading on a lot of those items if they're action items, so you can go and speak at the second reading.
Oh, okay.
So the idea here is, what if, and this was before I realized there were only 7 of us.
Yeah, that's why I hesitated to bring that up.
But the idea we had was, what if one of us went, or as often as we could, not I go to every city council meeting, but we take turns going to city council meetings, and when we're sitting there, I don't know if you realize this, during city council meetings, there's public comment at the beginning, but during the meeting, you can comment on the agenda item. So suppose
they ask, I mean, they're very, after each agenda item, they say, and is there any comment from anybody out there?
So imagine there's a developer and we're concerned about permeable surfaces. We could come to the front and say, my name is Eunice Lehmacher, I'm a member of the Sustainability Committee. Did you know that the city has this or that? Or we're concerned about, have you thought of adding solar? We'd really like you to put EV chargers in your garage, right? So the city council can't keep track of everything. And one of the reasons they have us is to watch sustainability issues. And one great way for us to watch it is show up, and of course, as you know, I'm brave enough to walk up anytime and talk in front of a crowd. Most people aren't. It's most people's number one fear. But being brave enough at that point to say, oh, actually the Sustainability Committee, or me personally, you can also do it as you personally, could suggest, how about instead of planting that, you plant some natives, right? That is one way to get sustainability to come through some of the city council agenda items.
Do we have to have well, that's the thing, like, if you are speaking on behalf of our committee.
Yeah, so.
No, you
yeah.
wouldn't be speaking on behalf of the committee. I would go up and say, I'm Eunice Lehmacher, the address, and I'm also a member of the Sustainability Committee.
Right.
Because you can't speak
Would that be
for
kosher?
the committee.
Right.
I can ask. I don't see a problem with that.
Well, I can say, I'm Eunice Lehmacher, I live at Kingsway, and I'm a social worker, and I work at the hospital.
That's true.
Right? I'm a healthcare provider.
Yeah, as long as you don't
No,
say
so as
that
an
you're
individual,
representing the
but you are
committee.
not representing the.
No, you're not representing
just
the
saying that
committee.
you're
So
on,
not from,
okay.
so that,
But
that's
I
very
could
obvious.
show up and say, I'm a member of the committee, I'm also a member of the Sierra Club and South Carolina Conservation Voters, and, right, and you could add Native Plant Society or whatever. And what concern I have about this topic is, and that will then potentially go in the minutes and infiltrate more.
It'll be a public record.
Right,
It'll
right.
be a public
Well,
record if
I
there's a
just,
comment made.
I mean, you're very brave, and you can, and I would be totally okay with if I knew ahead of time
Yes.
that there was something on the agenda
Yeah.
that I had something to say about.
That you could,
And
yeah.
that I could write something ahead of time, and then I would be more than willing to stand up and read it and then have whatever discussion they wanted to have. But I would be very.
Careful about, yeah. So what you were saying and what she is saying, they're two different things. So you are saying that you'll plan accordingly what you want to say. She is saying that while they are discussing, and if that relates to our goal and mission, then you will just.
I think they're saying the same thing.
But
It's- Yeah, they're saying the same thing.
What Tony said is a potential solution. So we can't send an email to each other, but say I go on Monday night and they do the first reading on something that really relates to us. And I send an email to Tony and say, the second reading for this will be on such and such a date. Could somebody please go and make a comment? Right? So one of your jobs, if you're attending, is to hear the first reading of various things and decide if in the second reading we want to make a comment.
But you're making a comment on your own.
Yeah, as a member
Yeah.
of the committee,
Yeah.
on your own.
But if there's only 7 of us, and they meet twice a month
All year,
all year,
yeah.
then, that's 24, so we'd each have to commit to going to 6 meetings a year-ish.
Well, we were sort of suggesting that when we thought there were 9 of
Yeah,
us, when
and-
Cindy and I talked.
And I was
but-
only thinking they met once a month, and then I found out they
Yeah.
meet twice a month, and I was like,
But
oh.
the question for now is, and I know we need to end, is would you all like to occasionally go to meetings and listen in, and we don't have to cover all of them, but would everybody be willing to try to go and listen from the sustainability side?
Absolutely. Well, and the other thing that I think, maybe if we, do you already forward the city council agenda to us?
No.
Would that be possible?
But you can get, if you can get it.
Oh,
if
I
you're
get
on
it,
this-
I
oh,
get
yeah.
it in a newsletter. Does everybody already get it?
I do.
Okay,
But you can get it online.
yeah, but I mean,
I can ask exactly when it's published.
Yeah.
And share that. And that would just be a matter of looking at the website.
yeah, well, I get it in an email because I signed up for some mailing list with the city, and that really would be helpful to read it ahead of time and at least, do I need to go to this one? Oh, well, that sounds like it might be pertinent to us, I should go. The one I did, they were just saying welcome to some new police officers and things like that, which really wasn't
So,
that great.
yeah, we need to be on time. So what we are going to do, definitely, one thing I wanted to make it clear that we cannot go to these meetings representing this commission, this committee at all. So as an individual, you can pick and choose what you want to do with the topic. Am I right?
Yep.
This is what.
I mean, if you're an individual, going
Yeah,
as an
as an
individual,
individual,
you
you
can
are free to attend, just like any other meeting, any other activities of the city, but not on the behalf of this commission or committee.
Right.
Yep.
Thank you very much. Item number 7, link to the updated sustainability in a progress page on the city's website. There's a link here. We can do, yeah.
It looks a lot better than when we first looked at it. That was another thing we were working on, was improving it so it actually said something. It says a lot right now. Check it out.
Do you have a separate Facebook page or social media? Do you have a Facebook page for this? No. We did talk
For
about
what?
this. For our committee? No.
No,
It's
we do
part of
not.
the.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
No, definitely not.
Item number 8, any open discussion, new business?
I put this in. Sure.
Anybody? Anything new?
Okay.
You want to say?
Oh, so I'll be real quick, but I had thought of something last month too late, so I'm kind of want to bring it up now, is that one of the goals is like sustainability during the holidays or in the holiday season. And when I was talking to Eunice, we came up with like some other ideas for other months, July 4th or birthdays, whatever, but especially Christmas holidays, like having a, on Facebook, social media, whatever, in the community connection, maybe in the fall one, like, I mean, Christmas, there is a lot of waste. People, like the cardboard, paper, you know, just kind of like, did you know? Again, I think I talked about it last year and I haven't come up with it, like when we talked about a flyer to put on the trash cans. But having something that goes out there that says, you know, collect all your cardboard, break it down, and call the city to pick it up on a Friday, you know, for the holidays. And little things, using less, you know, reuse gift wrap or recycle it, like it's mixed paper.
No, they won't take it.
They won't take it?
No, the wrapping paper is not considered mixed paper.
Okay.
Anyway,
So
we
We
were
had our
talking-
yeah,
first
but
all
just like-
fabric wrapping this year. We used big pieces of fabric and wrapped the gifts in that, and then we could fold them up and reuse them.
So then that would like go in this flat, how to be sustainable during the
Yeah.
holidays.
Gift bags are a great way too,
Yeah.
'cause you can reuse those.
Recycle, yeah, all right. Yeah, so maybe you can write an article for, this is what we should be doing for community connection anytime, you know? It doesn't have to be, like, it's a good thing that, not at the Christmas time, maybe we should write it now, so people will be very mindful about it now.
That's what we were, yeah, because it was like
Yeah.
birthday party, you know, what
So
if
then
you're
people will be,
celebrating.
yeah, all through the year, yeah. So that's something. Well, thank you so much, all of you. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I second.
All in favor?
All in favor?